Good afternoon. Welcome to all of you to the letter writing class. So we are doing this class for the fourth time, and we have learned how to write business letters, how to write cover letter, how to write thank you note, how to write sales letter. All these things we have learned, and all these are coming under uh, formal letters. So right now we are going forward to the last one, resignation letter, and there is one more thank you note that is same like thank you letter, so I'm not repeating that. So we will start resignation letter, how to write that, and after that we will move forward to application, because we have not learned how to write application for job. At first we have to get job and then you have to resign. So for that, you have to, you need to know like how to write the application. That is very, very important when you are in a class. Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, now what is resignation letter? You all know resignation letter is a letter when you are leaving one company, and maybe you want to shift your company for some reason. You are not happy there, or you have got a new job. There can be many reasons. So resignation letter is a document that notifies your employer that you are leaving your job. It formalizes your departure from your current employment and can be submitted by email or as a printed letter. So what it does, like formally, you have to give a letter to your company when you are departing from that, and you can submit it by email or as a printed letter. Previously, people used to give like handwritten letter, but nowadays you need to give printed letter. The letter serves as written notice of your resignation and provides the details of your departure from employment, including information about the end date of your employment. So the letter you are writing serves as a written notice of your resignation formally, and it provides the details of your departure from employment, including information about the end date of your employment. So everything you need to write there, what is the end date and when you are last working in the company, everything. Now, when to give the letter to your employer? It's polite to send your resignation letter well in advance of your departure, with 2 weeks in advance being generally accepted as the minimum, unless circumstances require that you resign without advance notice or with short notice. So every company has some rules. Some company, like when you will join the company, you will get to know maybe you have to have 1 month notice period before resigning or departing the company. Maybe another company have 15 days notice period like that. So the minimum is 15 days, 2 weeks advance. You need to give the letter, uh, unless you there is no like urgent reason when you are resigning. So you need to give that, because everything has a format and you need to follow that. If it is an urgent departure, then like it is different thing. In some cases, you may not be able to provide notice. So what I was saying that Maybe there is some urgent case when you are not able to serve any notice. So if you're working in a difficult workplace, having a family emergency or other circumstances require you to move on right away, so give your employer as much notice as is feasible given the situation. And when you are considered an actual employee, you are not legally required to give notice. Okay. So I told you that if you are, it is a difficult workplace, you are not liking that, or you have a family emergency or other circumstances which require you to move on right away. So you can give your employer as much notice as is feasible given the situation. So when you are considered an actual employee, you are not legally required to give notice. If you have an employment contract, it's important to adhere to its terms when you are resigning. So if you have an like employment contract, some companies have contracts with you, like you cannot leave the company before 1 year or 2 years. So at that time, it's very important that you are reading the terms and conditions before resigning. Otherwise, it will create a problem. So you have to check your contract to determine how much notice you need to give your employer. If you tell your boss in person that you are resigning, have a printed copy of your resignation letter ready to share. When you work remotely or resign with short notice, however, you can send your resignation via email. So if you tell your boss in person that you are resigning, so you need to give a printed copy of your letter. And when you work remotely or resign with short notice, you can send your resignation via email. Now, what to include in a resignation letter? So when you resign from your job, it's important to do so gracefully and professionally. However, you don't need to include a lengthy explanation. Keep your letter or email simple and focused on the facts. Here is an overview of what to include in your letter. You intend to resign. Your letter should start with the fact that you're resigning. Your last day of employment, you should provide information about the last day you plan to work at the company and offer to assist with the transition. So often employees will also offer to help in the transition, perhaps by recruiting or training a replacement. In this way, both the employee and the employer can leave the situation with closure and a sense of respect and amicability. So, what you need to include your intent to resign. So, first you need to state that you are resigning, then your last date of employment, then an offer to assist with the transition. So, often employees uh, also offer to help in transition, perhaps by recruiting or training a replacement. So when you are leaving one company, the company needs someone in place of you. So in this way, both the employer and the employer can leave the situation with closure and a sense of respect and amicability. So if you are telling your employer that you are leaving, you're telling early, he like uh, they can like arrange one replacement in instead of you. And if there is like mutual respect, you can train the other people in like what are the works you need to do. Questions you may have, if you have questions about your final pay or benefits, you can inquire in your email or later. So your contact information, include your personal contact information, so it's easy for the company to get in touch with you. So you need to include your contact information so that the company can get in touch with you. What not to include in the letter? There are some things you shouldn't include when writing a resignation letter. Now, here we have discussed when to give the resignation letter. It should be very polite, and you should give some notice, serve some notice period if there is already written in your offer letter. And If you have any contract, you cannot leave the company before that contract, and you need to tell your boss in person that you are resigning, and you need to give a printed copy. So these are some protocols you need to follow when you are giving a resignation letter. Now, what to include? We discussed that you are resigning, that you need to include your last date of employment, you need to include, and you need to like tell previously so that the company can arrange a replacement and you can train the other person. Questions if you have about your last pay, you can inquire that in your letter. Contact information, include your contact information so it's easy for the company to get in touch with you. So you can write your contact information there. So what not to include in your letter? So there are some things you should not include. That you don't need to include the reason that you are moving on, especially if it's a negative one. So you cannot include that because it's a formal letter. Resignation letters are not appropriate place for complaints or critiques of the company, managers or co-workers. There is no need to mention in your letter that you'll be getting a higher salary at your new job. You cannot mention that. And you cannot, don't use your letter to discuss how great the new job is. So nothing negative you can include there, which will like uh, demotivate your present company. Like you cannot write your complaints there. If you have any complaint, if you are leaving the company for any negative reason, you cannot include that. And you cannot include any your complaints or critical things. And you also have to you cannot mention that if you're getting higher salary to your new job, you cannot mention that also. And don't use your letter to discuss how your new job is and how thrilled you're about leaving. So it will create a bad impression that you are not happy at your present company. So you cannot do that. Your present company should know that you are very happy working there, so that they will also feel happy about you. Now, how to write a resignation letter? So, from our discussion, I think you can understand the resignation letter is not always the thing that that you are leaving the company for some negative reason. It may be that you're moving some other place and you have got a better offer. You are leaving for that. So at that time also you need to give the resignation letter. The resignation letter needs you to include your contact information, official notice that you are resigning, and when your final day of work will be. If you would like to include more details, you can, but they are not required. So a resignation letter needs to include all this information, contract information, official notice, and when your final day of work will be. And if you would like to include more details, but they're not required. Here is how to write a resignation letter. So it's information on what to include in each section of the letter. So contact information. The written letter should include your and the employer's contact information like name, title, company name, address, phone number, email, followed by the date. Contact information, email. In an email resignation letter, include your contact information at the end of the letter after your signature. You don't need to include your company's contact information. So a written letter should include your and the employer's contact information like name, title, company name, address, phone number, email, followed by the date. Then if it is email, then you can include your contact information at the end of the letter after your signature. Now, first you have to give the salutation, that is the greetings, dear Mr. Mrs. Whatever. In paragraph 1, you need to that you are resigning from your job and state the date on which your resignation will be effective. This will give employer official notice for your personal file. Now, paragraph 2 is optional, that you can mention the reason you are leaving, but this is not required. We have already discussed. If you choose to give a reason, be sure it's a positive one, not negative one. Paragraph 3, if you are able to help with the transition, mention your availability in your letter. And paragraph 4, mention your application for the opportunity, appreciation for the opportunity you had to work for the company. So what is paragraph 1? That you are resigning from your job and state the date on which your resignation will be effective. And paragraph 2 is optional, that you cannot include your reason unless if it is a positive one, but not you don't require that. Paragraph 3, you are able to help with the transition. Then mention your availability. If you're anytime you're coming back, the company also wants you, mention your availability. Paragraph 4, mention your appreciation for the opportunity you had to work for the company. If there was something that was especially rewarding, share the details. So always you have to like mention or appreciate something which is good for the company. It will create a good impact upon the employee. Now you need to close the letter, like sincerely, your sincerely signature, end with your handwritten signature and your type name. Now signature, include your type name followed by your contact information. Now how to format the resignation letter when you were writing that in Word, like in a printed format. So resignation letters should be simple, short, written, and in business format using a traditional font. So length of the letter, most resignation letters are no more than one type page. So font and size should Times New Roman, Arial, and Calibri, and font size should be between 10 to 12. Format, resignation letter should be single space to the space between each paragraph. Uh, Use 1-inch margins and align your text to the left. Length of the letter should be one page. Font and size should be regular, 10 to 12, or Times New Roman, Arial, or Calibri. Then the format should be single spacing between each line or each paragraph. Okay, and you have to align it to the left. Okay, I think one new student is there. So, hello, Sangeeta. Can you hear me? We are conducting letter writing class. This is our 4th class on letter writing. So today we are discussing about resignation letter. So I'm telling you all these things because you are new to the class. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
You are from which college, Sangeeta? Okay. So I don't know you can understand or not because you have joined in the middle, but I can repeat it. So we are discussing especially formal letters. So previously we have discussed business letters like cover letter, thank you note, all these things. So today we are discussing the last one, that is resignation letter. So resignation letter is again one type of formal letter, and we have discussed what to include and what not to include in the letter. So I am telling you in a short note. Like resignation letter is a document when you are leaving one company or any institution from your job, you are leaving your job, that you need to like submit your letter, and it should be very, very formal. You cannot include any negative comment there. You cannot write your complaint or critical things about your company, and you can write your positive impression if you have anything. And if you are going for some new job, you can always include that. So it should be a positive note letter. And if you have any employee contract, like some companies have some contract that you cannot leave the job before 1 year. So in that case, you cannot give, like you cannot resign. You have to first read your terms and condition, then you can resign. And you need to give the resignation letter advance so that the company can arrange some replacement in the place of you. And if it is like some urgent situation, then you can give the letter like instantly, but not other than that. And like now you need to give the letter in printed format. So what to include in resignation letter? Your intent to resign, your last date of employment when you are working, like what is your last working day, and why you are going for like to the new job, or why you are leaving the company. Don't No need to include that. And if you have any query about your salary and pay benefits, you can always include that in your letter or email. And if you have any contact information, your personal contact information, you can include that so that the company can next time get in touch with you. Now, I told you that you cannot write anything personal or any critical thing. And like you cannot also write, I'm getting higher salary in the new job, that's why I'm going there. You cannot include that also. Okay. So how to write resignation letter? The resignation letter needs to be included in your contact information, and your company's contact information, no need of that. First, you need to start the letter with the salutation greetings, Mr., Mrs., whatever. In paragraph one, you should include your stating that you're resigning from the job and what is your last working day. Paragraph 3 is optional, your reason. Paragraph 3 is if you are like sometimes you're coming back, like you are going to a new city, and maybe you have a plan for coming back, you can include that. And you can like mention your availability. If the company is agreed to hire you again, then they can do that. Paragraph 4 will be your appreciation for the company if you have anything. Now you can close the letter using a sincerely and yours sincerely, and signature in email. Sorry, when you are writing the letter in email, then you need to type your name and signature. And if it is a handwritten letter, you have to include your signature. Did you understand, Sangeeta?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sharing one. Okay, the font and letter size should be very regular. Calibri Times New Roman 10 to 12 size, all these things. And it should be aligned left. That's all. So here is a sample resignation letter. I would like you to read the letter. Please read the letter loudly. Sangeeta, can you hear me? I ask you to read the letter. This is a sample resignation letter. Hello, Sangeeta. If you are in the class, please respond. So she left. So Joseph Q. Hunter, Main Street. This is the address of who is writing the letter. Date Then is writing the letter to the senior manager, and then the address is also given. So, dear Mr. Smith, salutation and greetings is given. I would like to notify you that I am resigning from my position as assistant manager for Johnson's Furniture Store effective August 19, 2022. So this one you can note down that how to start your resignation letter. I would like to notify that I'm resigning from my position as this effective from this date. So date is mentioned and he is resigning, that is also mentioned. Now there is a thank you note. Thank you for very much for the opportunity you have given me to learn all about store management and proper customer service. I have genuinely enjoyed my time with the company, and I believe the experience has taught me much about the furniture industry and how to effectively manage employees. So now in this paragraph, he has given a thank you note how he has been uh, like he has learned all the things. Next month, I will be taking on a position as manager of a new retail store. I'll be happy to assist with the transition to new assistant manager. Next month, where he is going, he has also mentioned that. Then the closing and the signature, and then the hard copy letter. That's all. It's very easy. You can easily do it. So that's all. This is resignation letter writing. So I think you have learned how to write resignation letter. Now we will start also formal letter writing. That is application letter. So application letters, again, there's application for job, for like there you can also write some formal letter to newspaper when you are writing uh, like any about any article about your opinion, you can write that. So we'll come to that later. So for job application letter also there is a particular format. So we will discuss that. So what is job application letter? It is essentially a detailed piece to convince a prospective employer of your eligibility for the open position which you're applying. So when you see an advertisement or you get to know about some others from some other sources, you are writing the application. So in your application, what you will write that why you are eligible for the position and you want to work with the company that you need to express. Together with expressing your interest in the job, the letter will highlight your qualifications, skills, experience, and achievements. So it will explain why you might be the best person for the job and convince the recruiter to shortlist you for an interview. So overall, a well-written application will present a creditable picture of you as an individual professional and can make a favorable impression on employers. So obviously, a good application letter creates a good impression about the candidate to the employer. Now, this one is very much important for the students because now they are going to the job sector, they are starting their career. So now, gradually, they will start writing application letter. And I wish you best of luck that you get a very good job very easily. How to write a job application letter? Writing a job application letter involves expressing your interest in the available position and detailing why you are the best fit for the job. So you will need to include your educational qualification, professional skill and experience, and follow the steps to write an appealing letter that could convince a hiring manager to consider you. First, you need to read the job advertisement in details because that includes so many things. Uh, You can make a note of company's exact requirements and compare these with your qualification, skills, and work experience. You can underline the keywords and key phrases that they have used for an inclusion in your job application later. And it is a good idea to research the company and mention your knowledge of their business. You can review the professional letter formats. It will help to review the accepted professional formats for the job application. For instance, you might use left alignment with single spacing, 1 inch margins, and a professional font of 10 to 12 points. You want the letter format to look clean and be easy skim. Try to keep the information concise and on topic. You have to write a clear heading, and you have to like if you are sending a paper copy of the job application to the employer, you will need to include a heading with your name, address, email, phone number, and date. You can also mention the name of the recruiter, of the hiring manager who is hiring you. And if you are applying by email, so it is necessary to write a header with your personal information. However, if you want the employer to have the information, you can include it below your signature. Address the letter to the right person. Okay, begin by expressing interest in the job. You always have to express your interest for the job. Then you can describe your eligibility for the job, highlight your attributes, and you can end the letter with a thank you note. So these are the like hints, these are the guidelines. Now we need to do the practice writing so that you can understand how you can write the letter. So we will practice in the next class how to write the letter, and you have to practice 1 or 2 letters so that you can understand. Okay, so today we are concluding our session here. We have discussed how to write resignation letter and how to write job application letter, but we have started that so that in the next class we will uh, learn in detail. Okay, so if you have any query, you can ask me and you can post your comment. Okay, thank you for your interest.